Hello and welcome to my video. Today I'm going to be doing an overall critique of Red Dead Online, all the positives and some of the negatives. And since the story has been covered to death, I will only say that I really enjoyed it and thought it was well done. But if you want a review or critique on that, you'll have to go check out somebody other than me. I don't know. Maybe I'll link one in the description or something. No promises. Anyway, the purpose of this entire video is to go over all the contents of Red Dead Online. I'm also treating this as if Red Dead Online was its own video game entirely, mainly as it is set up more like a free-to-play game than anything else. Rockstar and Take-Two expect this game to last similar to GTA Online, so this shouldn't surprise you too much that I'm doing it in this sort of fashion. So now that I got that little disclaimer out of the way, I would like to go forward with many of the topics, from matchmaking, showdowns, and races to the open world and what it actually has to offer over time. I am fully aware that we will be getting a content drop sometime in the near future. It will probably be in the first quarter of 2019. But without further ado, I'm going to actually start getting into the topics. First part is the main menu, where you can go through all the different options via matchmaking or spawning into the open world. If you have a personal goal, say hunting in the open world, it is nice to be able to just spawn in any region and be close to what you would like to do. You can also join a random posse from here as well, which I don't recommend unless you are looking for people who are either generally just trolls or kids who don't know how to make their posse private. You can join the Showdown and Race series from here as well, which are your typical game modes done in similar matchmaking style as GTA Online. However, they are improved, I guess, in some ways, sort of. And last but not least, you do have the Microtransactions store, or the Gold Bar store, which will be covered in its own section later in the video. Honestly, the Showdown series is my least favorite part of this game. There are many reasons I dislike this game mode a lot, mostly because it is several different game modes on one playlist. So you can't choose what type of match or game mode you're actually playing. If you're playing by yourself, why would you want to be put in team-based modes with a bunch of randoms you didn't want to play with in the first place? Or the opposite happens, you go in with your posse of friends, and by some miracle the first match you join is team-based, there is still a good to fair chance it will break up your posse and have you team up with randoms anyway. Me and my friends have pretty much stopped playing these showdown modes in the past 2 weeks because it's pretty boring when you join with the good old posse, then the next thing you know, you are spectating a kid in a bush for 10 minutes with a throwing knife, hoping that the other degenerate moves from his spot in a bush with a throwing knife. It would be honestly more entertaining to just lobotomize yourself, or more reasonably just leave the match. You're wasting your time watching these people, and you're probably not even going to get a fun game mode in the next match. I guess it's alright if you're just going for kills and XP, but the map design is basically intolerable. The big open world map is realistic and beautifully well designed, but that's just it. It is designed to be realistic and visually accurate. This, however, lends to the maps being fairly unbalanced and uneven. Honestly, this doesn't surprise me, seeing as how these deathmatch modes resemble the early modes in GTA Online. I suppose it is better and more random than the 3-lane COD maps that we're used to these days, and they're also more visually appealing to look at as well. But the best part about these game modes is probably the team-based action, in my opinion. They have a mode similar to Conquest or Domination in which you take and hold points. I can also enjoy the game mode Name Your Weapon, as it is kind of fun to kill with tomahawks and get those extra points. However, this whole experience is rather short-lived, and it quickly grows frustrating when you have two different shades of the same color on the screen. The worst is the blue, because when you're playing as blue, you will see another teal color fighting maybe a yellow or orange off in the distance. It blends so easily and looks identical to yours on the map unless you are right next to each other. I thought I was the only one having this problem until I asked a lot of the people in my friends list about it, and they were having the same problem that I was. I will reiterate that I would not play this game mode unless it is to just get a change of pace and to gain XP. However, if you're just looking to gain XP, there are many more viable ways to do that faster. A few things that they could do to maybe make this more fun is to maybe make a stage-based game mode similar to Galactic Assault and Star Wars Battlefront 2. And maybe actually just give us the option to choose what game mode we actually want. The races in Red Dead Online are probably the most fun you can have out of all the different matchmaking game modes. I wouldn't take the races too seriously though, as they seem to play out more like a match of Mario Kart. As you go between the checkpoints, there will be barrels on the track to ride over. These barrels either give you stamina or a weapon that has pretty limited ammunition to it, usually just one clip. There are three different types of races inside this playlist. These consist of open, point to point, and lap races. Just like with the Showdown series, you are unable to actually choose what type of race you want, which is really turning out to be a bummer for a lot of people, especially considering you seem to come across more open races than anything else. From what my friends and I'm seeing online, these are the most disliked type of races because of how they play out. There isn't a lot of action in these races, and by attacking other players, you're usually just going out of your way and slowing yourself down. And this really sucks because there's no way to really gauge who is winning. It tells you who has the amount of checkpoints highest to you, or if you're in the lead, it tells you who has the next least amount. But it really doesn't give you a gauge like maybe how far you are from them. It's just, it's really unbalanced the way they do that. But the open race just kind of sets you out to clear out a bunch of checkpoints around the town or area. And when you get to all the checkpoints, then the finish line actually appears. With the way people disperse, it's very, very unintuitive for new players and can honestly just be annoying most of the time because you'll have some of these new players running around and just knocking you off your horse. It's unbearable. But the highlights in this series are the point to point races, which really are just fun. It's fun to play aggro and just ruin someone's day, or sit back and just watch people wreck until you get to a high spot and shoot the first and second place guys right before the finish line. I personally love watching people trip up and run off the bridges and fall to their hilarious demise. I wish I could choose what type of race I was able to play, but overall, this game mode isn't terrible if you're just looking for a good change of pace. Out in the open world is where you will most likely be spending a lot of your time in Red Dead Online. There is a small story which I'm not going to spoil for you here. These missions have no bearing on the main story in the solo game, which may seem obvious, but don't get your hopes up for some crazy details. The only other missions you have at the moment in the open world are stranger missions. People in these missions aren't usually as quirky as the strangers from the story mode, but they can give you replayable missions, which give you money and XP, and that's always helpful. The problem is, many of these stranger missions have been bugging out. I had an experience where me and a friend were sent to go kill a bear. Pretty simple enough, but upon finding the bear, we killed it, as one does, and attempted to skin it to no avail. The game pretty much said screw you, and we had to wait for the timer to run out. There are also glitches where the mission won't even start after you're talking to the person. This has been very frustrating. My friends and I would like to do these missions as they are fun and gain a fair amount of XP, but the frustration and wasted time has wore us thin. However, if you're like me, you can save up your treasure maps for these such frustrating occasions. Every 5 levels you get a treasure map, which gives you an area on the map to search. These provide gold and money, so they're well worth your time to do them. Obviously though, your camp is in the open world. One of my personal favorite things to use in the game, which serves as a place to cook food, rest, set up your outfits, and pick up things ordered in the catalog. One problem I found is that you can spend your money to have the camp set up in a certain area of the map, and then Crips is his name. He deceives you and sets it up somewhere on the other side of the damn map, effectively making it useless, and you're out $5 or whatever it costs if you have a smaller camp. But this can be annoying if you're like me and actually use your camp before setting out on a grind or long hunting mission. Which, I'm going to be honest, in my opinion, hunting is probably the best way to make money. Hunting has generated most of the income that I have. Well, that along with fishing. I love trying to get the perfect pelt and carcass, especially when you track down an elusive creature like a panther or cougar. There are only a few downsides to this, however. One, someone can kill you, effectively losing all your pelts because you know they aren't going to let you get your horse back. Or two, the butcher will be glitched out, which has happened to me several times. If anyone knows why this happens or how to circumvent it, please let me know down below because the only solution I have found is joining a new lobby. Which, obviously, is frickin' useless if the butcher is unavailable and you lose all the sweet, sweet cash. You're just not going to want to go do it again. I mean, I don't. Usually that's about the time I either do something else in the game, try and hook up with a friend, or just play something else. But I do wish there were more things to spend money on in the game as well. It would be nice if they added homes or property to be purchased, hopefully through in-game means and not the gold store. I'd like to be able to own different carriages, wagons, maybe even a fishing vessel or canoe. It'd be really cool if they added a fishing boat where like you and your friends could go out and fish and store more than one big fish per person. You know, like maybe there's boxes like ice boxes or something where you each can store up to 3 fish and you can go into like the Saint Denis or Blackwater and sell them off. You know, that would be a cool thing that they could add, and you know it would also be something to work for. um, this would also make it harder too if they added these boats for griefers to kill fishermen, who are the most vulnerable due to the fact that the map is not displayed while your line is cashed out. It also is about a 2 to 3 second animation to put the rod away. This leaves you very exposed, and other people know it. Most people won't bother you, but it only takes one person to go out of their way and ruin your fun, which really is where that whole problem arises. All that being said, the open world shows a lot of promise, and it lays the foundation for what will hopefully be some great content in the near future. I plan to keep this part short and rather sweet. The microtransactions are quite ridiculous at this point. I will display the American prices for them in the background. These gold bars, they can't buy things like guns or weapon recipes before the proper level. However, there are many items in the game that are specifically locked behind these gold bars, which is rather annoying, and it's by no coincidence that Red Dead Online has made sure that it is very hard to acquire these bars in game. Paying minimal out for missions and matchmaking modes, it's by design. There are horses which cost 18 gold bars and up. No saddle or anything, just the horse. These microtransactions become very expensive if you try to buy pamphlets or recipes before you unlock them. Some of these cost over 100 gold bars for one item, which is honestly pretty out there for me. I get you may not want people to have something before everyone else, but to give a kid the option to spend what amounts to near or over $50 is completely ludicrous to me. I didn't do the exact math. Sue me. Sadly, some people will likely pay these prices instead of grinding to rank 96 or whatever the hell, and in a way I can't blame them. I just kind of see it as Rockstar taking advantage of its consumers, which just kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Let me be clear, I have no problem with microtransactions in an ongoing multiplayer game. In fact, I actually think they need to be a necessity to keep these companies putting content in these games over time, which is what we want. We don't want to go back to the days of, paying season passes and, paid DLC and stuff and dividing the fan base. So in a way, these microtransactions do help. I just wish the currency had like its own dedicated store menu. Maybe just add a bunch of cosmetics and cool looking carriages to ride our posses around in. As long as they continue adding variations of those items into the main game for free and there's no advantage, I wouldn't see a problem with it. If it's just looking better and it makes my character look different, I don't see an issue with it. While it's technically not pay to win, it's definitely a shady practice with what they got going on now. But what the hell would I know? I'm just a consumer. Alright guys, those are my thoughts on Red Dead Online. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a comment, and if you want to see more like this, subscribe. I am going to keep attempting to improve and make more content in the future. Until next time, eat shit!